All righty. Okay, well, it is 2:18, so we're going to go ahead and get started because we have so much awesome information for you today. And excited to see you all, and excited that you're here with us. So continue to just come on into the Zoom webinar here. And also we know we have folks out on YouTube as well. So thank you to our YouTube viewers. So what we'll be doing today, my name is Pam Luster, and I am the proud president of San Diego Mesa College. And you are attending one of our community forums, and it's our opportunity for us to stay connected with all of you since we're not together on campus together. We have 2 campus forums a month, and this is our second campus forum of the fall semester. And it will be focused on how our wonderful student services teams have made that pivot towards serving all of you and one another in a remote fashion. So I thank all of them in advance for all the great work that they're going to do today. If you are joining us via Zoom webinar, then you will be able to post questions in the Q&A and also make comments in chat, which many of you have done already. And so please continue to do that. If you're on YouTube, we don't have the capacity today to take your questions through YouTube, but we'll be assessing that during this semester to see if there's a good way for us to stay connected to our YouTube audience as well. So let me just start. The way that I've started each of our meetings this semester is just from this place of gratitude. I am absolutely grateful to work in this Mesa community that is so committed to students and so committed to one another. I believe the way that the work is being done on behalf and with our students has been with a tremendous amount of grace and a tremendous amount of commitment. And even if we don't get it right or know exactly what we're doing the first time we try to do it, we try to get better at it every time we hear back from you that there's something you'd like us to do differently. And that's no different than anything else we're going to do today. So I just want to say how grateful I am to be in this Mesa community and to be part of a team who literally, while we're sitting here, have been dropping bags of food in the back of students' cars so that we continue to feed our community. And I thank our basic needs teams for doing that and just being so sensitive to the work that needs to happen there. So a couple of things. We are still, of course, in our COVID-19 arrangement, working remotely. As you probably know, we do have some courses that are meeting on our campus. They're being done in a very physically distanced and safe way. And I thank you to the students and the faculty and the staff that are supporting that activity. I want to give a shout out to the folks that have never left campus, and those are some of our facilities folks. College police has certainly been there, and also a number of our LRC staff and others that have been doing laptop giveaways or food distribution or whatever that might be. So I just want to thank everybody who's still providing that on-ground support as well. So our campus remains closed, and to other activity other than what's already approved. And if you do have the need to go to campus, you need to go through your supervisor because there is a protocol for coming to campus. We do temperature checks, we sign you in. There's a wristband that you have to wear that is just for the day. It's almost like an amusement park, only we don't have any rides. And so there's this, and the one will not get you to the next day because Jacqueline changes the colors of those wristbands every day. So if you're out on campus, people will ask you, where's your mask and where's your wristband? Because we want to make sure that we're creating a good, safe environment for folks. We do have a number of campus events that are still happening in a virtual space. And so I just want to say that please continue to take a look at that, look at your email, look on social media. We've had some wonderful opportunities already to connect through mental health, through a number of different efforts on campus. So continue to benefit from those. And if you want to have an event, we're still using our events portal because we want you to get the level of support that you need to do that. We are in our, is this our third week of instruction or fourth week of instruction? I have lost count as to where we are in the semester, so I apologize. Thank you, Michael. We are in week 4, and I have to say, I'm sure it's going quickly for me, but also I want to give a shout out to all of you who are also supporting those young people in your life that are Zooming while you're trying to teach, are Zooming while you're trying to do services. I personally have a first and second grader. Second grader spent 3.5 hours on Zoom this morning and loved it. So, everybody's different in terms of what they like to do and how they do it. But we know that that can be a challenge when folks are trying to take care of people in their lives, or you're trying to work and they're going to school, or whatever the circumstance is. So we know that it can be a challenge. We also know that it's coming up on times when students can opt out and may just be deciding, hey, this is too much for me. And I would never say to a student that they should stay in courses if they don't think they can do it. But what I would say is, if there's anyone who can get you through it, it's us. We have a tutor for you. We have a faculty member for you. We have a counselor for you. We have a classified professional that specializes in something that you need. Stick with us. We will be your connection. We are willing to be your connection to food, to housing, to wages, the kinds of things that you might need. Maybe you need a job in a different field than the job that you lost yours in. We want to stay connected to you. So once an Olympian, always an Olympian. And even if you have to drop back, try to drop back and not drop out, because we're here for you and we will get you through it. And we can't do everything perfectly, but we're sure going to try to keep you connected to us. Specific shout out to our athletes. I know a lot of you are having challenges because you're not either on a field or in a pool or wherever you might be practicing your skills, but that doesn't mean that we don't want you to stay here either. We'll have a season. We don't know exactly when, but we'll get you back competing again. So we want to give a shout out to all the different students that are out there. So with that, I am going to turn this over, because we have just this amazing, rich array of resources for you to hear from today. And so with that, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Ashanti Hands, our Vice President of Student Services, who's, if you see behind her head there, really the queen of all good trouble. So Dr. Hands, take us away.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Pam. And I really want to thank you for creating space for Student Services to talk about how it is and what we're doing to work remotely to serve our students. So for those of you who don't know about Student Services, we have over 20 departments. We have 18 special programs serving unique student needs. We have 6 spaces throughout campus and over 175 faculty, classified professionals, administrators, supervisors, managers, and student workers that are working around the clock to make sure that our students are supported and have what it is that they need to succeed. So when we thought about how we would tell our story today, we discussed not simply doing a laundry list of programs and services and ways that we've served, but instead we wanted to provide an honest glimpse into our work, including challenges, our mindset, how we've risen to meet this moment, and what's on the horizon for our areas. So we hope that during this time, you'll be able to connect with individuals and understand how we are breathing life into our purpose during this time of remote learning, services, and engagement. So we're going to share a lot, but you don't have to remember it all. In fact, you can find contact information and other important information at our online student services support page, just off of the home page. It's also included in all of the Canvas shells. So I'll also be dropping that information into the chat. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to be involved using the chat feature, and we will try to get to your questions as time allows. The first thing that we want to do is start off talking about challenges. So I've asked our deans to share a brief 30,000-foot view of some of the unique challenges we have and continue to face as student services. This time is intended to let you know that we have heard you and are aware of expressed and identified concerns, and to let you know some of the things that we're dealing with behind the scenes as well. I know this is awkward to just talk about challenges in this section. Trust me, we'll get to some of our remedies and solutions later. And again, we encourage your involvement through the chat feature. So if you have questions, please do so as time allows. So I think what we're going to start with, I believe Vicki is going to go first.
Yes, thank you, Ashanti. So it is true, we have had experience and we continue to experience some challenges as we have transitioned to remote. And we kicked it off real early, right when we transitioned to remote. We had to rethink and reshape how it is that we celebrate, how it is that we honor and recognize our students for their accomplishments. So they had worked so hard, and we usually have this grandiose celebration for a scholarship award ceremony. We have a beautiful commencement ceremony, And we had to rethink real quick, how it is that we're going to honor and celebrate our students in a fashion that was true, that stayed true to the spirit of the celebration, and that students would want to participate and students would want to bring their families to. So we had to do it real quick. It was a challenge. Also thinking about how it is that we outreach to our students. Usually we are in the classroom when we're talking about outreaching to our prospective students. We're in the classroom, we're in the high school, we're in the middle schools, we're building relationships, and we had to shift real quickly. We usually built relationships with that human connection, seeing them regularly in person and having conversations with them in person, and things had to shift real quickly, and how it is that we built those strong relationships with our prospective students while letting them know we're Mesa, we love what we do, we're here with what we do, and with an intention of connecting with our students. So we had to find a new platform of how it is that we connect with our students. Financial aid. Financial aid has definitely had some challenges and continue to have some challenges. First of all, we had to rethink how it is that we do financial aid completely. Students that don't have mailing addresses, how is it that we were going to give them their checks? And usually students would come through a help desk when we were on campus. And now financial aid last week alone had 3,000 total email exchanges, because normally a student would come through the front desk and able to ask a question and get an answer, then prompts another question. And now this is done through multiple email exchanges. So the volume of emails has increased dramatically, and we're finding new ways that work. And we're also, while we're trying it, we're finding ways that, okay, we tried it, it didn't work so well. And so we're shifting the way that we experience things. And one last one that I want to share is student health. Student health had to find an immediate way to build trust with their students. When a student comes in for mental health guidance and therapy, there was this human connection again, face to face, and a feeling of trust was built over time. And student health had to find new ways to build that trust immediately. So yes, we have experienced several difficulties, some challenges here and there as we go along, but we're learning and growing while we do this. And there are things that we have experienced that we love, and we're so proud of that. Oh my goodness, we did it. We found a way. We got to keep this way. But there's also some things that we cannot wait till we're back on campus, and some things that will feel better when we're in person. So definitely School of Student Affairs has had some ups and downs. Thank you, Ashanti.
Thanks, Vicki. How about Eileen? Let's hear about the student development.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Going back to what Dean Miller had mentioned, it's really important for me to acknowledge the long wait time that some students may be experiencing in the School of Student Development. And I'd like to echo what Dean Miller mentioned about how we've had to rethink the services that we're providing to students and how we reach out to them. In the past, we had face-to-face services where students can just stand and inquire at the counter about quick questions that they may have. But these days, it's taking a little bit longer as we return email exchanges. Some of the transactions take as quickly as just a few minutes to even close to an hour, depending on the amount of research and back and forth that it's requiring for us to do. A lot of the things that we've done is it's provided us with opportunities to reach out to students. The School of Student Development, student services in general, we've been able to take advantage of technology that's available. We have a student services Canvas page that's available through the Commons, which can easily be deployed by faculty in their courses. It's also important for me to recognize that just like our students, our faculty, our staff, our community has been impacted by the pandemic. The challenges surrounding Wi-Fi connections, they're taking care of their loved ones, their families at home, and being responsible for providing remote schooling for their children has also impacted our staff. There are different resources that we have access to in the home environment, and so I want to acknowledge and let you know that we do understand the impact this has on everybody, but at the same time, we want to make sure you know that we're keeping students in the forefront of our services, and we continue to be committed in doing our best to providing services in the School of Student Development. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean Crakes. Next, we'll hear from Dean Maxey for Student Success and Equity.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you. It's certainly nice to be seen by everyone. I will echo my colleagues. Certainly the principles that they highlighted in terms of challenges certainly exist in the School of Student Success and Equity as well. I think that in general, if I could just boil it down to two challenges, all of our programs in this particular school are predicated on building strong connections with students. Whether it be from basic needs, whether it be our EOPS students, our DSPS students, our cruise participants, our CalWork students, our students rely upon and come to really feed off of the connection that they have with us as practitioners and professionals. Not being able to have that connection with our students has been very challenging to deal with. And all of us look forward to the opportunity to be able to build that connection with our students. I certainly applaud all of my areas for the perseverance that they have shown, for the ingenuity and moving forward, but we miss that sense of connection. So that's the number one biggest challenge for my areas. And then I also just briefly talk about the personal aspects of members of our community who have been impacted by COVID, like Eileen said. I myself have personally lost an uncle to COVID. Others have had family members come down with COVID. And so all of us endeavoring to stay safe, endeavoring to take care of our families, and yet still provide for our students. And that's what I'm most proud of for my areas, my departments. They have found a way to model the resiliency that we encourage our students to demonstrate. I'm just so very proud that they have moved forward and are continuing to provide great quality service. Although admittedly, it is not up to the standard that we all would want being on campus, but I'm so very proud of what they have done. And so I would highlight those two areas as the two largest challenges that the area of student success and equity has had to deal with.
Thanks, Dean Maxey. So we appreciate it. I know that was a struggle for our team to talk about challenges because we know we want to jump right into it, but these are the opportunities. These are the things that we have done, but I think they've done a great job of letting you know, again, that we hear you. We hear our students. And we also want to know that there may be a lot of things that we did not cover. And we would love to hear from you in the chat if you have some other challenges that you would like to bring to our attention, because we're always looking at these exchanges as an opportunity to engage and grow. So if you have questions or concerns that you have not had a chance to be answered, drop it in the chat and we can respond via chat, or we can answer some questions at the end as well. We wanted to shift from challenges to talk about those innovations and those opportunities. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because every chance that I get, be it Convocation, President's Cabinet, I am bragging on our team and all of the great things that they have done. But we are doing some things with a great intentionality. We're doing things with an equity lens. And I really appreciate that because equity is beyond just access, and resources. It's about an experience. And I think one of the things that our departments have done is to not just create these systems or ways of doing things to make sure that people are getting transactions and needs met, but they are a part of a community, that they have a sense of belonging, that they know that they matter and that we care. And so we really have been doing a lot of things with great intentionality. Vicki mentioned some of the things that we did to do what Larry talked about in terms of community with commencement and our scholarship gala. Pam had mentioned that we're doing our drive-through mobile markets. We're making sure that information is accessible, shelves on our website. I love that many of our departments have started doing a virtual help desk. We moved our cruise program to an online orientation. We have workshops, we have counseling sessions. I love the work that Student Health Services has been doing with Allied Health program this summer to make sure that all of their vaccinations and everything are up to date. Working closely with student accounting to make sure that students are able to still pick up their bus passes, get their checks, that we can administer emergency aid, that we're doing telehealth. The list goes on and on. We are constantly trying to find ways to create the conditions that matter for our students to succeed. One of the things that we also did this semester was we put out a call to action. Our student services leadership team really talked about what was going on in the world today with regards to race relations, social unrest, social injustice, upheavals, anti-Blackness. And we really wanted to figure out that when this story is told, we want to have a clear story of how student services was intentional about meeting this moment where it is. And we put out a call to each of our departments to identify or address at least one program, policy, procedure, activity that either needed to be created or needed to be dismantled so that we can remove barriers that prevent our students from succeeding. And the lens in which we were using are our Black students. So we put out a call to action. On September 30th, we expect to receive a SMART goal from each of our departments that will talk about specific things that we will do, measurable things, attainable things, things with timelines that we can do to make sure that we are serving our students well. And what we know is that what we do for one, we ultimately do for all. So where we're starting right now is our Black students. And we know that if we can impact our programs and activities in very intentional ways, we believe that all of our students will benefit from that type of care, authenticity, and attention to detail. So we're very excited about that. The rest of the time that we have, we pulled together a panel. Larry's going to facilitate a panel for us. And we are only able to highlight just a few of our student services. As mentioned, we have over 20 departments. And so we have a collection of administrators, supervisors, managers, classified professionals, and our students who are going to help tell the student services story during this time and really serve as a bridge between our challenges and our innovations and opportunities and ways that we have chosen to show up as we work remotely to serve our students. So through our questions, we hope that you'll learn about student services, you'll learn about the people that are serving our students, the spaces that we've created, the programs and the services. We have representatives from Outreach, Peer Navigator Program, Career Transfer and Evaluation, Student Health, Counseling, EOPS and STAR Trio, Associated Students, Basic Needs, and our own technology analyst. Each person has included their position and title in their name, so please feel free to look people up or write them down if you're making a connection, because that's what this really is all about. And again, we encourage your involvement through the chat feature, and we'll get to your questions as time allows. So if we can have each of our panelists go ahead and pop their screens up, we'll just have you all there. And Larry, I'm going to turn it over to you. And again, I'm going to be monitoring the chat. So please feel free to chime in because we want to make sure that we're able to tell our story, but that the version of the story is something that impacts and inspires you as well. So Larry, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ashante. And as Ashante mentioned, we have a beautifully diverse group of professionals across the spectrum of student services. So we want to provide the opportunity to ask them some questions to get their perspective, not only as Ashante mentioned, of the challenges and the successes, but maybe even some personal thoughts and ideas on what we're experiencing all as a community. And so we'll get right into it, in fact. And we have a question for Carla Trepna, who is our outreach coordinator. And so Carla, the question that we like to ask you is this: what did you and your team learn about our students this summer? And how has this information informed your work?
Hi, everyone. This was a one-of-a-kind type of summer. Our team learned a great deal. One of our big efforts this summer was to connect with students who withdrew from courses this spring. So that meant really, coming together as a Mesa team to reach out to all of these students. So it was outreach, peer navigators, and tutors reaching out to students personally with a phone call to let them know that we were here. We wanted to support them on their academic journey to resume their courses in fall. So these calls were our special way of connecting with our Mesa students, showing them we cared, showing them that we heard their challenge, we saw them, and we wanted to extend immediate support to ensure that they were ready to resume their courses in the fall. And I kid you not, this one-on-one connection was huge. Students really showed us, their sincere need to return to Mesa and be a part of this Mesa community. And not only that, but they actually expressed an unbelievable amount of gratitude for reaching out to them by a phone call. because, you know, sometimes I think we feel that we are not seen, but just knowing who you are, addressing you by name, trying to learn a little bit more about you is very, very big in a student's life. We took those lessons and we applied it to our promise orientations. So we had the opportunity to connect with our year 1 and year 2 students to set them up for fall semester. Thanks to Cruz, we were able to present to our students for about 30 to 45 minutes. And following each one of these presentations to our promise students, we were able to send them via email our PowerPoint, and also frequently asked questions that, without knowing, the students actually created these frequently asked questions during the chat time of the promise orientation. So they actually helped to develop these questions. And then we were able to connect students to our wonderful student services departments, making sure that we were connecting them from the get-go, not waiting till the end of fall, but from the very beginning of fall semester. So really connecting with students in creative ways was our top priority now, and it's always going to be this way. So thank you, Larry.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carla. And it's so wonderful that this effort impacted you so much that you're going to continue to carry principles of it forward. That's outstanding. And now you mentioned Cruz, and so we like to speak to Gloria Gonzalez, one of our lead peer navigators. Now, through all of the difficulties and challenges, you were still able to pull off a summer cruise program, right?
Yes.
All right, very good. So what themes did you all gather from cruise? And what were students' hopes and concerns? What was their energy? Was it similar to being on campus? What were some of their issues and concerns?
For the themes, we noticed that students tended to find the information extremely helpful, and it helped them feel more prepared entering college. And I think the fact that, you know, my fellow peer navigators were all very kind and welcoming helped ease their nerves as well, especially because not only is this a new experience, you know, coming into college, but it's also during a pandemic, which is new to everyone. So I think it helped them feel more welcomed and at ease. And then we also noticed that students didn't actually mind the online format as much as we thought they would. So we give a survey to get feedback from students, and we had 567 student answer. And of those 567, 29% preferred online, 39% preferred in person, and 33% thought that maybe a hybrid option would be a good idea. Some other common themes we noticed was that students of color tended to prefer afternoon sessions. And not only this year, but we've noticed it in previous years as well. We tend to have a very low number of African-American students as well as Pacific Islander students. And in the feedback, there's a question that asks about whether a student's parent attended college or not. And we noticed that the highest percentage for the answer no was actually Latino students, followed by our African-American students. And then lastly, most of our students does come from Promise. So thank you, Carla. We know she helps us out a lot by pushing Promise students to attend Cruise. So we get to connect a lot with them on that. And then, you know, the orientation afterwards. For their hopes, I think a lot of them just kind of hoped to find a community at Mesa. And I think Cruise allowed that for them because they were able to meet other students who are in very similar situation as them. Not only is the age range fairly close, but, you know, they're all first-time students starting college, you know, in the certain situation that we're all in. So I think they all just hope to meet other people so that they don't feel as alone. And I think we were able to provide that for them. I think some common concerns we saw were that students were kind of nervous about whether they were going to take the correct classes or not. And obviously, you know, as peer navigators, we aren't able to tell them what classes they need, but at least we were able to connect them with some counselors. And so those concerns kind of got taken care of during the first couple weeks of the semester. I think a lot of students were also concerned about not being in person, even though a lot didn't mind it as much, there was still a concern about, having that disconnect of just being on, like, looking at a screen. It tends to be harder for students to focus. And so with so many distractions around, a lot of them were nervous about whether they would forget information or misinformation. And luckily we did do recordings for them to reference later on. But we did notice that a lot of students didn't feel as connected as they could have in person, even though it wasn't as bad as we had anticipated. And their energy was similar, but it was at the same time very different than it was in person. I think being online allows more opportunity for students to hide behind, not turning their cameras on or, just not speaking. And so something similar is that whether you're in person or online, students tend to be very shy because they're still getting to know you. And it's not like the rest of the semester where it's one-on-one and we can be more personal. There's other students there as well. And that adds to kind of their, shyness basically. But as always, there are a few students who tend to be very engaged and outspoken and participate a lot. But like I said, at least in my personal experience, a lot of my students had their videos off and they tended to not speak a lot. But when looking at the feedback, I noticed that even though I might have felt in the moment that there was that disconnect, due to the positive responses we got, it seems like they were still present and they were still making the most of the situation that, at hand.
Wonderful. It is that you and our peer navigators, our students. So thank you so much for your beautiful work over the summer and supporting our new students. We appreciate it. Okay, so the next question.
Real quick, before we move on, I just wanted to comment on two of the things that we picked up from Cruise and from Outreach. And Bridget recently created a dashboard, and I can't recall if she's had a chance to share it or if she will share it, but she was able to take a look at students who were contacted through Outreach's summer efforts. She was able to take a look at students who either responded to a survey that we provided, who received emergency aid, who somehow had a point of contact with another human to share their feelings or to be able to express. And one of the things that we found, just as we find with Cruise, is that students who have that personal point of contact had higher persistent rates. And so we still needed to dig in to figure out what that meant. But if students did just any one of those things, they were more likely to come back in the fall. And so we're learning a lot about the importance of that human connection and interaction. And so we're finding more and more ways of being able to do this in that time of remote service. And of course, Bridget just dropped the link into the dashboard. So please check that out, take a look, but that contact matters. So we should all be finding ways to do that. Thanks, Larry.
Very good. Thank you, Ashanti. All right, so now we have a question for two of our wonderful professionals, Claudia Estrada Howe, along with Suzanne Kambata. Claudia runs our Transfer Career Center, and Suzanne runs our Student Health Department. And so the question that we have, what processes or strategies have you used to create some of the uniquely designed programs that are serving students remotely? And what has been the impact? And Claudia will allow you to answer first.
Thank you, Larry. And thank you, Pam and Ashanti and all the deans for this space and allowing us to connect. I'm hoping there are some students joining us today. What processes or strategies? I want to start with saying that everything we do, there are people behind all of this. There are hearts behind all of this. We definitely at the Transfer Career and Evaluations Department lead with our hearts, which for us means to really love what we're doing and what we're doing it for. So what we did as a strategy is we really leaned in on our students' voices to really try to learn what the needs were. I think the key word that I want to use as a theme for what we had to do was pivot. We had to definitely pivot. And we were getting hit by various areas, right? on the news, we were hearing that a lot of students were deciding not to go to their transfer into institutions of choice in the fall because of fears, whether they would be virtual or in person, whether they would need to travel. So we had to pivot really quickly to make sure that our website had the most up-to-date information with what colleges were going to be offering spring enrollment and applications. We really had to make sure to make that information accessible to students. And we are continuing to work for this following semester on virtual application labs, where we'll be able to continue to help our students with that very nerve-wracking process of applying for colleges. We also had to pivot in a very significant way with our evaluations department. A lot of what we did in evaluations required a lot of our structural bureaucracies, right, that we have in place. A lot of it is forms, a lot of it requires in-person conversation with students in terms of particular situations for different forms and petitions that they may need. So we were able to collaborate with our district office and move a lot of the forms, if not actually 100% of our forms, into a virtual format, which, similar to what Carla mentioned, is something we are going to hold on to as much as we can and continue even, when we go back to an in-person platform. But it did take the effort of our evaluations team and really our entire team to work hard to make that happen. And even to this moment, we are learning. There's still, a couple of things here and there that we, again, listen to the student voice. What is making things a little harder for them? We go back. Do we need to change something? And we do that. And then the other area that I want to talk about is the career piece. This is really where our hearts were bleeding because we listened early on to the data that was collected by the Basic Needs Survey in terms of where our students were initially when the pandemic started. And for us, the number that stood out is that humongous number of students. It was well over 60% of students who lost employment, who lost that revenue stream. And that's huge. That's a huge impact that hurts them. So we immediately pivoted to how can we help our students fill out that unemployment paperwork. It's a service we have, I suppose, but really never had to rely on in this way. And we were learning as well as the students because that system was flooded. So we served as a cushion, as an ear. Students really, as Gloria mentioned, they want to be heard. They want to be heard. Just to have someone to talk to in a conversation is really important. Our career counselors, coordinators created career chats, and that allowed for students to have that space where they could come to them and vent. We had that through our welcome week, and we plan to continue that space. We also, through our wonderful career peer ambassadors, were able to reach out to students individually. They reached out to students that were in our job board account or had a job board account, reached out to them and asked them, hey, how are you doing? Do you need help? We're here for you to support you with your resume, job searches, anything you may need. And then our open house event that just happened last week, I think, we had to pivot there as well because we didn't want to cancel that event. It's typically an in-person event where we allow or we welcome people into our spaces to meet us and to get to know us. And we wanted to still have a space for students, and through listening to their voice and what they need other students as well right now. So we, through the support of our Career Peer Ambassador program, team effort, our entire team is fabulous. They all help in many ways. We were able to provide the student voice and connect students through that platform virtually to get to know our offices. So all in all, I think the outcome for us is that we are still learning, but we have learned, just very much like Gloria said, don't underestimate the students that are in these virtual sessions. They're actually pretty engaged, and they're hungry for more. They a lot of times just don't know about the services. Our services are not mandatory. They're services that are there if the students hear about them. And One of the challenges I will bring up is that we continue to really need the support of the campus community and connecting the students to these events and opportunities to connect. And it's not just through events. We have daily appointments with transfer and career counselors that are there. Our students, they need us. They need all of us there. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And Suzanne, same question. You remember the question? You have to unmute yourself, Suzanne.
She's like, dang it, man.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting us to today, and I didn't unmute. Student health services, strategies and processes. First of all, we have a great team of professionals in our office, and we created safety in all of our meetings, and we did that very intentionally so that people would truly feel like they could be creative and be open and really speak their mind and just do the best that they can to listen to students and repeat what students say, not verbatim or not in a non-confidential way, but in a qualitative research way. And then I take those words and phrases that I hear and I qualitatively research them and then come up with events and ideas for events. Then we all get together and we create those ideas. Some of the other research that I do and that everybody else in our office does, we watch YouTube a lot. If we want to get on the same wavelength with our students, we need to know what they're looking at. We need to look at their Instagram. We need to look at their influencers, people that are high visual sports people, actors, actresses, and definitely their music. The student voice comes through loud and clear and then combines with everything that we see on television and the computer. And then I usually bring the group together and just say, well, I'd like to do a project on, and then a word or a phrase. And so then from there, the ideas start to bubble up. From there, we look at filling a student immediate needs. What does the student need right now? And then we look at creating a situation where we're teaching a student that comes to one of our events or comes to counseling or comes to the nurse practitioner or physician and learns something, and then we'll pass that along to the next person. We also love to collaborate. We're the collaborators, collaborate outside of our team to our campus. Sometimes you just find kindred spirits and you know who they are, and sometimes you just kind of cold call people and say, hey, I want to do something with us. We encourage team members to take time to talk to students and take time to listen instead of talking so much. We do a lot of listening. I provide structure and guide ideas during the development of our programs and services. It was really tough at first to visualize moving everything online. I think we had some struggles there, but YouTube is a wonderful resource and taught us how to do counseling and how to do a physical exam and how to look at people differently and get patients to participate in the exams. The idea of creating social bubbles is extremely important during this pandemic. A social bubble being a small group of students getting together off of an event. So maybe during an event, they'll share their email with each other, they'll share their phone number with each other, but they are sharing and they are connecting during our Zoom sessions that are open to all students. We also are, I don't know, maybe we're kind of bugging a little bit for flyers, but our communication department creates amazing flyers. And I think that becomes really attractive. And I think that's a strategy that attracts students. We also use the mental health grant to provide incentives for our students to come to our events. The impact has been amazing. High numbers of students attending our Zoom educational sessions, high numbers of students in counseling, and increasing numbers in medicine and nursing. Thank you very much for letting me share.
Thank you. Thank you both. Really appreciate your hard work. My man, Michael Temple, just some real talk, brother, real quick. This has been a challenging year, man. With all of the social unrest that we see around, which is pretty evident. We've lost some pretty prominent individuals, Kobe, John Thompson, the Black Panther, Wakanda for life. With all of that having been said, it's been a challenge. How are you personally feeling?
I'm hanging in there. So me personally, as you know, been dealing with this challenge since I was born, coming from Southeast San Diego, and it's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
So let's ask the question, my friend. So how is counseling making a difference with regards to student services call to action and Mesa College's theme of addressing racial inequalities with the focus on anti-Blackness?
Well, let me start by saying I appreciate, President Pam saying, let's try to encourage students to drop back and not drop out. And I think that's very important. I didn't want that quote to be missed because that's critical. This, in my opinion, it speaks directly to the perception Black students have of our attitude towards the Black student community on our campus, whether we're remote or, if we're on campus. Black students are still, looking for spaces where they can get together or and have the opportunities to chat and speak and be in community, as well as they're always looking to connect with instructors, administrators, staff, you name it. So as educators, healers, instructors, and practitioners, I think we control whether our Black students will drop back or drop out. And that's very important. Students who are in my class, it's my responsibility to bring something out of them that they may not know, that they may not realize. And that's sort of the challenge. That is the challenge we have taken on in the student services counseling department. Because once a Black student has identified one person on campus as not taking interest in them personally, not caring about their well-being, being dismissive on any level, that student will completely check out. Not even that student, multiple students will completely check out. And I think we all know, well, at least being in their shoes, I do know, you hit that here I go again sort of phase. You got discouraged all through, your wherever you came from. You got discouraged the whole entire way. You hit the college campus, fresh new start, and then boom, here I go again, being dismissed, or the little subtle actions and behaviors to suggest that I'm not valued. So in some sense, I think we've all been conditioned to think that Black people aren't deserving of a college education. Black students will not strive to be the best. Black students come to us, with many deficiencies that they're not going to overcome. And Black students are lazy. Black students will not work hard. So there's many hurdles personally that some people probably should check themselves on, as well as just that's what Black students are coming in with. So to address these inequalities and even more, I organized the Black Faculty Counselors Collaborative, and thanks to Ashanti, Larry, Eileen, and other folks who may be involved that I'm not aware of, that support for doing so was it was critical, and it's appreciated. So the BFCC, we're taking a strength-based approach. So meaning we're going to concentrate on the inherent strengths of our students. We're going to focus on highlighting their skills, their interests, and their support systems. We want to build their confidence, their motivation, and really aim at helping students bring out their positive attributes. So what we're also going to do is hold our campus community responsible for understanding their attitudes towards Black students. So because we need the campus community as a whole to demonstrate that they believe in each and every one of our Black students. It cannot be a mixed, thing. I believe in this one, but not that. Everybody. And we're going to hold our campus community to building relationships with our Black students. That's one aspect, in my opinion, that's missing as well. Before passing judgment, someone has to ask themselves, what is it you know about that student? Like, what is it you truly know? And what is it that they know about you? So that's it sounds easy, but I hear the grumblings from students in terms of, man, that person don't even know me. They're not even paying attention to who I am. The success of our students is going to hinge upon, trust, which is going to be built by each person getting to know one another. And we're going to hold our campus community responsible and being compassionate towards our Black students. So not only asking yourself, do I really care about my students, but being able to really demonstrate, ways in which you care about, your Black students and care about their education and care about their success, them reaching their goals, whatever the case may be. And once a Black student perceives that they are cared for, they won't strive. If a Black student perceives that they're not cared for, then they won't strive to maximize their potential. We hold control of all that. We hold that. And so our attitude towards Black students really probably, we got to hit a point of checking ourselves and really think about, what that means and what that looks like. And what am I doing as an individual to impact that? What are my biases? What are my microaggressions or whatever the case may be that I may be passing on to this student without even realizing it? Because we got to provide an environment for that breeds excellence. Enough with we know the data. So now how do we change that and by creating an environment for excellence and being willing to continue to provide relevancy in many aspects of student services and the instructional side.
Good. Thank you, Michael. We really appreciate your honesty, your transparency, your emotion. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Leticia Diaz is our EOPS coordinator or director rather. And we like to ask you a question. You've dealt with some challenges. What have you had to do personally to put yourself in a frame of mind to do this work at this moment in time? And how is EOPS creating space for our historically underserved students to thrive in this remote environment?
Thank you, Larry. Well, as we continue to serve above self for our students and our community, I've been practicing a lot of reflection. This year has called upon us to be specifically reflective on revisiting our purpose and our why as a community, so collectively. And so we find ourselves asking each other and ourselves specifically is, why do we choose to lead and serve in the capacity that we do? So why do we do what we do? And when I think about our students in EOPS and our special programs, a lot of our students face challenges and adversities. And this was even prior to the pandemic. So I see this as another challenge or an adversity that our students and us as a community are facing that we're tackling and dismantling collectively. And the pandemic has required us to modify our learning and accelerate the delivery of services, which has impacted our lives significantly in different ways. Me personally, my family, I come from a large family, and members in my family still have to go to work in person, which unfortunately led to many in my family, in my household, to get COVID. The unknown was nerve-wracking since there were a lot of unknowns as far as like, even the first question was where to get tested. And thankfully health services sent like a long list of services that we can access in the community, which also brought to light the importance of continuing sharing those resources, not only for our students and our colleagues, but even in the communities and families, with our communities and our families. So this led to me and many of our family members moving a couple of times in the summer, which was a little challenging, adjusting to working from different spaces, and all while still making sure that everyone was going to recover, have a healthy recovery. And thankfully, everyone is COVID-free now, and I'm thankful for all of the support and the care that came from not only our family, but then also our work family, our campus community. But just to go back to the challenges, it's that we overcame it together. We're overcoming these challenges together. And despite the learning curves and despite the unknowns within our workspace, I'm beyond grateful for our students and our team as we continue to learn and grow together. Everyone has gone above and beyond to be present for each other. And this does take a holistic effort. I always kind of refer to the higher education system as an ecosystem. Like, we're interdependent, and we are continuously adapting and acclimating, envisioning and strategizing, and it's always morphing. It's like ongoing. So when I think of EOPS and student services and our campus community, whether that's individuals, departments across the campus, it's been a collective effort. We're going through the motions of dismantling barriers and ultimately continue cultivating those transformational spaces for our students. So those spaces look different depending on the type of service, but we converted our paper application to an online application. We have our appointments for our students, which only used to be offered in person. Now they're via phone and Zoom. We do wellness check-ins with our students, so our counselors and our staff are continuously calling our students to see how they're doing, even just to say like, hey, is there anything that we could do, even if it goes beyond our programs and services. We also distributed a lot of supplies and devices for our students depending on the need. We try to still bring that importance of student leadership and student involvement and engagement in different ways for our students, even if it means just like pop in for 5 minutes. You don't even have to turn on your camera or chat. Once you feel comfortable, you can start, turning on your camera or talking on the chat or send a private message to someone. Which leads me to creating workshops that are open to everyone. And yeah, right now, because of our virtual setting, everything is via Zoom, and we're continuously exploring different ways of offering our services remotely, but our workshops, we do open them, offer them to everyone. And we currently post them on Instagram, on social media. And we also email it out to our students, but know that everyone is invited. And also a focus on awareness to wellness. And awareness to wellness, not only for our students, but as colleagues, but because again, we're interdependent to one another, which leads me to bringing light to sharing our narratives. So creating those spaces for our students to also share their stories, but knowing that as colleagues, as professionals at Mesa College, we also bring talents and skills and stories that our students can relate to. So I encourage us to continue creating those spaces for our students to share their stories, and for us to also share our stories so that students can find that connection with us. And We also continue to collaborate with different departments and community organizations. So if anybody would like to partner with us, please contact us. Again, Mesa EOPS. My name is Leticia Diaz. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share a little bit of what we've been doing these last few months. And I look forward to seeing you all soon in a virtual setting and meeting those that I have yet to meet. I wish all the students and my colleagues the best this fall semester. I'm very hopeful and optimistic that the transformational spaces will continue growing and expanding across the campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Leticia. And we're all, I think I speak for everyone, we're so very happy that your family has recovered. So thank you so much for sharing. Taylor Carpenter, AS President Extraordinaire, how are you this afternoon?
Hello, I'm good.
Good, good. So we have a question for you here. Actually, it looks like maybe a three-part question, in fact. So as a student who is leading during these uncertain times, how are you feeling, A, about your leadership role? How are students preparing to support other students? And what do you need from the campus community?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I'm feeling good about my role. I'm so honored to have been reelected as president for another year, and starting fresh with a fresh board is always good. It's always a good thing. New experiences, new people, getting to know them. And I think the challenge really is getting to know everyone through the computer. And I think that I'm not as able to make those heartfelt connections as I normally do in person. But, we're working on it. And I try to, be in constant communication with my Senate and with the people I work the closest with, but to everyone who would need something from me. I think we're in for continued challenges, but we always rise above and rise up to meet those. So I'm looking forward to that. To answer your second part two of this question, as far as associated students, we are preparing to support students by participating in Shared Gov. So I'm going to be assigning those committees very soon, actually coming up this week. And then also we're planning to offer different leadership workshops. So in the past, we've worked with Dr. Tannis Stark for the LEAD series, which is always very compelling and excellent resources for our students. We also have offered the leadership retreat, which has always traditionally been done in person. But I think offering it online as a series of workshops is going to be what works best for us with this new transition. So I think as far as supporting students, another way we are going to do that is by connecting with them on social media. And we want them to know that we know that all the problems that they were facing before the pandemic, they didn't just suddenly stop and, oh, here's a new crop of problems. No, it just all came and added on to what they were already going through. So we understand that. Some of us are going through it ourselves. Like many others, I've had a personal loss due to COVID in my family, actually this past couple of weeks that I've been going through. So, we see you, we're here, and we are ready to support you in whatever way we can. As far as the third part of your question, I think from the campus, just one of my favorite quotes from a person that I know personally is, she always says, accountability is not the enemy. And I really want the faculty and staff and administration to know that the students are always listening, they're watching, and even when you don't feel like they are, they look and they love opportunities to be engaged. So I think as far as what we need from the campus, we just need transparency and accountability to continue, which it has been. So we appreciate that. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Taylor. And thank you for all your hard work, and certainly the commitment from you and students in supporting the emergency fund when all of this initially broke out was huge. And so we thank you so very much. John Aliman, our basic needs coordinator. So we have a question for you, and we're coming down to the final minutes, and it's perfectly fine because you and our next individual only have one question each. So that's fantastic. So the question that we have for you is, how can all areas of the campus support student services as we find new ways to create space for our students to succeed in a remote environment?
So I had my answer all figured out, and then I've listened to all my colleagues and the students today, and they've all answered that question. And like Taylor said, our students are watching us, they're looking at us. Well, we need to create community within our campus. We can't have, oh, you're instructional, oh, you're admin services, oh, you're student services. We are all San Diego Mesa College, and we are all there to help our students. We know from the data that our students don't know a whole lot about our student services. And so whether we're in student services or admin or instructional, we need to let our students know about the great programs that we have. And we also need to be involved in our community. We are all part of this community. And if we aren't modeling a connection across the campus, then our students are going to see that, and they're not going to feel like they belong either if we're not all getting along and doing that. So the main touch point for most of our campuses, or for most of our students, is in the college classroom. And so our faculty knowing about programs, or knowing about even one person in student services, that can be another touch point, even during this virtual time. You know, connect them. Oh, I know Claudia in TCE, she might be able to help you, or at least get you to the right person, and creating those kind of situations to help our students get the help they need. I get a lot of calls from basic needs for like the CARES Act, which is financial aid. And so when students call me, I'm like, okay, well, I can't really do a whole lot, but what I can do is get you in touch to somebody who can help you, you know, and I'll give them a name, or I'll say, you know, here's an email here or call here. And I think those are the things that we really need to focus on, is really, like Michael was saying, a campus community, creating that community. We need to do it among our various areas and with our students.
Beautiful, thank you. And thank you for all your hard work, Joanna. You really, really do a fantastic job. So thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, finally, Charlie Liu, our tech guru for student services. So we have a question for you. So how has student services used technology to overcome challenges and meet the students where they are?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity again, and for this platform. And I'm very excited to answer this question, because we in student services have done a lot to really help students. One of the key words that I've been hearing a lot is the word pivot. And that's exactly what we did in student services from day one. As soon as we knew that our campus was going to close, we had to figure out, how do we connect students to the services that they need? How do we answer their questions? How do they, how do they get in touch with counseling and so forth, or student health? So within a week, with the help of Trina Larson in our student services department, and Joel and Ashanti, we developed our student services online resources page. And that page is still up to date and is constantly being updated. So as students, as staff, as faculty, continue to reference and refer our students to this page for resources. And just also to tie back to Carla and her survey that they did, many are new to taking classes online. They're not used to a lot of, whether it's how to navigate Canvas or how to log into Zoom. So within the information gathered from that survey, we also created a new resource page called the Online Learning and Student Services page. And I'll drop that in the chat as well. And it's basically, it's broken up into 4 main topics or tiers. Students can go there, and then as staff and faculty, please refer your students to this resource page. It tells them how to register for classes, how to log into the SDCD portal, how to get a Zoom account, all the basics ins and out. Before, we had this information, but it was scattered all over the place, and everyone had a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But with the help of Sharon Hughes, one of our faculty member, she had these resources gathered already. Now we just put it in one spot, and it's very easy to access. So as a faculty, refer to this in your Canvas shell. As staff, as you're helping a student, refer them to this site. And there's links to videos and so forth. And then lastly, I also want to share with you our Olympia chatbot, or a virtual bot. It's pretty awesome. I know all of our students don't just visit our websites between 8 and 5 every day. They're on all different times of the day, whether it's 3 a.m., 6 in the morning. They're on our pages. They're constantly scouring our sites for information. So our Olympia virtual bot is basically that. It allows students to ask questions to our bot, and it'll search our student services pages for an answer. And additionally, some of our departments, such as a CTE, and I believe we're trying to get financial aid as well. So that allows students to actually chat with one of our service staff members directly to get information and answer questions with a live person, a live agent. So we're doing a lot of things, and we're continuing to do a lot of things to resolve and help students with technology issues and helping that bridge and make that connection, like many of you have said today, helping to make that connection a little bit easier and helping to find that information a little bit easier.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charlie. We really appreciate all of your hard work. So panelists, first of all, I'd like to thank you so very much. Your insights, your perspective has been so very valuable to us. And, you know, we just have one final question, and we maybe take a word or just a sentence. It doesn't have to be from all of you, but the question is, when it comes to serving our students in this remote environment, what excites you and what keeps you up at night? So who would like to respond? What excites you? What keeps you up at night? Just very briefly, Joanna.
What keeps me up at night is working at getting services to our students and making sure that we are getting the information to our students and the minor typos I may have had in an email to our students and send them a correction real quick to make sure that they have the correct information.
Got you. Very good. Anybody else like to respond? Suzanne?
What excites me is the endless possibilities. It's just absolutely open right now. There are not very many rules, and it's open. What keeps me up at night, because we have a lot of events and a lot of Zoom going on, plan B. Is it going to work? You know, plan A is solid. I got it. I got plan A, but is plan B okay? Is everyone going to show up? Is everything going to work okay? And fortunately, I know that we have so much support amongst the team that I don't have to really worry about it. There's so many people in student services that are absolute geniuses. If I don't know the answer, they'll know. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, friends, that's all the time we have. We'll turn it back now to Dr. Hands.
Yes, thank you very much for moderating that, Larry. Any of our students, did you guys have just one question, one comment about what keeps you up at night or what excites you? Gloria or Taylor? Just want to make sure. Gloria.
I guess something that excites me is seeing how at least in my personal experience, a lot of my students are still excited about college and starting this new experience. And something that concerns me is, I know right now it's difficult to get in contact or to get a quick response from student services because there's a lot of questions and concerns coming in. And so that's something, depending on the topic, that can concern me sometimes because it can affect their stay at Mesa as well.
Great, thanks, Gloria. And Taylor, if you have something, pop in. For those who didn't get a chance to speak, if you want to write it down in the chat so that people can hear, that would be great. Taylor?
Yeah, I think a main concern for me would be just students having access and getting what they need, for those who may be still struggling with technology or those who may have dropped out because they couldn't handle school and a family and all of the mental health that comes along with the separation during the pandemic. So, but I think one wonderful thing is that we have a great team here at Mesa and that we have great people in the support services roles. And so I'm really happy and elated that for what I've seen, it seems that students have been getting those responses and getting the help that they need. And I've also been really pleased that the farmers market has continued to support students in those efforts.
Great, thank you. Well, I want to thank all of our panelists. Carla was able to drop her comment in the chat. Looks like Claudia's typing, I can't tell. So if you have a chance to stick around, please read those comments. I want to thank all of the panelists, as I mentioned, for just your authenticity, your care, your commitment to creating conditions that matter. So Pam, I'll turn it back over to you.
Wonderful. So I just want to say, if we could turn on if we had a chance to turn on the volume and hear from everybody, I know they'd all be doing snaps or claps. And so I just want to thank all of you for all the time that you put into this. We covered a lot of ground here. And since you asked the question about what you're hopeful and excited about and what keeps you up at night, I would mirror everything that was just said is, are we creating those conditions, right? Like we want to, and we hope we are. And so I'm really bolstered by all of the wonderful things that you've said today. And I think one of the things that I'm really thankful to, something that Michael said earlier, is we have to continue to do this work in ways that means that we are a learning institution. We don't all know the answers to all of the things that are going on right now. And right now, we hear a lot about, 3 pandemics, right? The pandemic that's ahead in front of us, which is clearly COVID-19, and then the economic pandemic, which many of folks have been living with pre-COVID, and certainly within COVID. But this idea of racism and where we are as a nation, where we are just as a college, what we're doing to be called to that work. And we have a number of opportunities that are coming up. And wonderful Giovanni in my office is going to post the link to a wonderful A2MEND workshop that's coming up called Reform or Dismantle: Beyond Diagnosing Racism. We have set aside 100 spots for folks at Mesa to attend. And so he's going to post the link in chat. You can also find it in a number of different places, including some emails that have gone out to campus. So if you somehow missed it or you didn't get it, thank you, Gio, for posting that. The link is right here. I also want to let folks know about a series that's called Propelled by Protests. And there are a number of opportunities coming up there. And Michael, along with a number of our other faculty, have been sponsoring this. And these are student-led discussions. And if there's anything that we're committed to this year, is leading with students and not on behalf of students. We know that students have a voice, and we need to join arm in arm and make sure that the student imperative is part of the work that we're doing here. There are many other opportunities, of course, to get engaged on campus, but unless we're actively interrogating our own agency around what we're doing for racial equity, we're not doing the work. So I want us to talk about accountability. Personal accountability on this issue is truly important, because we won't solve any of these 3 pandemics unless every day we're thinking about how we put one foot in front of the other and do this work together, individually and on a grand scale. So I just want to, again, thank our student services professionals for the fantastic work today. Thank you, Joel, for posting. He just posted the Propelled by Protest. The next opportunity is coming up on September the 16th. Just want to put a shout out that the President's Cabinet meetings are on Tuesday afternoons. Anybody's invited, and many of the people that are here today are on here. But if you couldn't physically come to a PCAB meeting, we'd love to have you virtually. And you can see the kind of work that we're doing collectively across the campus and the kinds of discussions we're having, including really sexy discussions like things like, what are we going to do with the block grant that we're getting from the state of California? While that doesn't sound all that exciting, it's a way for us to meet your needs. If you're someone who's working from home and you don't have the tech you need, we have a form you can fill out so that we can get you the technology you need to do your job in ways that are more effective for you. Or let's just say your internet keeps, I almost use a bad word, isn't working as well for you as you'd like to. We can get you some connectivity. And so ask us, and we will try to provide what we can. So just in a way of saying, let us be this community. Let us be the leading college of equity and excellence. And in this moment, let us exercise our agency so that our students and all of us can thrive, even in this very challenging environment. So I look forward to our next time together. It'll be in 2 weeks, and we will be having a wonderful presentation and discussion with our faculty that have been involved in the Mesa Building with Buddies program. And that was the huge project that was undertaken this summer under the leadership of Karis Mulovitz and Katie Palacios in the loft, along with our wonderful loft crew of Eva and the folks up there, for the faculty to really humanize the online environment that they're teaching in. And so we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. And if you were here today and you had fun with this, let us know and tell more people, because they can come along the next time. Thank you so much, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. Thank you.